All right, everybody. Welcome back to Indiebnb. Tash and Grant here, joined by Mackalie from Atlanta. How are we doing today?
We're doing great. How are you guys doing?
We're doing fantastic. This is our first one in a while, so we're happy to hop back on the saddle and you know, get in here with you. So let's just jump right in there. How'd you get started going down the music path?
Gosh, I know everybody probably says this, but like kind of as long as I remember, I've been doing something with music. My dad actually, kind of got me started into like actually playing and singing and things like that. He's kind of got a pretty good voice of his own. And he plays some guitar and some piano. So we kind of grew up just like instruments around, listening to stuff in the car, belting it. None of us hold back in my family. So yeah, just kind of as long as I can remember, I grew up singing in church, singing in like choirs, like doing stuff with school, national anthems in high school, the whole nine.
Yeah. So you said y'all were singing in the car. What kind of music y'all jamming in the car as a kid?
Gosh, one that like immediately comes to mind, or I guess two that are like our top favorites would be Mother's Finest, and then another would be Heart. Those were kind of like our two kind of go-to bands, just like, grooving, jamming, belting it at the top of our lungs.
Nice. So I guess there's two of your influences. Who are some other of your big influences as musician and songwriter?
Well, I don't know about songwriting, but honestly, just like falling in love with music and falling in love with like ballads and falling in love with just like pop music. I mean, as a kid, I was like so into pop. And like, I mean, I know we grew up kind of or at least I did, in the era of like Christina Aguilera, like Britney Spears, all of these kind of powerhouse like pop vocalists. That was like my jam. Like for a while when I was like 7, 8 years old, like that's what I wanted to do. Like I was like, I want to be that, so I don't know, as far as like I know a lot of them aren't even writing their own stuff or didn't write their own stuff, but but as far as writing, I'm not sure. But those were like, I mean, Mariah Carey, like just these like all around just like vocalists, like these were especially like my female influences for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they were huge. I mean, there's a reason they were huge, because they were very talented. So
Yeah.
Do you see them showing up at all in your music, like, whether subliminally or intentionally?
I mean, there's times, like when I listen back, like I guess I haven't listened to any of that stuff in quite a while, I guess, but when I look at the song structure, I mean, I do see structurally, I guess, some of that in my writing, because it is kind of just like the formula of a pop song, like exactly like the way that you would lay out their songs is similar to the way that I kind of can scope out my own. So I guess in ways, I think I can see some of that in there.
Well, yeah, walk us kind of through that. I guess that'd be sort of your writing process. What's kind of well, let's just go into, like, you're talking about the scope of a pop song. How do you see that play out, like, for a pretty how am I trying to say this? How does that go into your writing, where you say, like, okay, I'm gonna write, a verse, and then go into maybe a big chorus, come back in, then maybe hit a bridge or another chorus, whatever it might be.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, and I think a lot of people would say this, I guess each song is different for me. Like anything I write, like I would like to think that I can do it all, the same way, because then it would make me feel like I could actually finish a lot of my songs. A lot of them are unfinished. But I mean, most of the time I do end up starting with just a verse. Like a lot of people will start with the hook, like they'll start with the hook, they get something, and then they build around that, and that's their chorus or whatever. I don't know, for whatever reason, like choruses are much harder for me. Like finding that hook is much harder for me. But I can write verses all day. So sometimes, that's part of the struggle. But yeah, I mean, like formulaically, it's the verse, sometimes a pre-chorus, the chorus, verse 2, yeah, chorus, bridge, and then repeat chorus at the end until you feel like you're ready to die. I don't know. I mean, and then again, like sometimes I'm like, I don't care. Like one of the most recent songs that I've written doesn't even have a chorus. It's just like 5 or 6 verses, and I'm like, I don't want to fit into whatever kind of like mold that I'm supposed to fit into.
You don't want to box yourself in.
Yeah, it's like whatever, if I like it, I guess that's the point.
What where do you usually start, like within the writing process? Do you usually like, are you playing on guitar or piano and find something, or are you more like find a melody that you like and try to put it onto the music that way?
Um, Again, I would say it kind of like depends on the song. Like there's plenty that I've done either way, like,
Mhm.
both of those things. But I do like, I guess writing wise, I used to like, I would feel like I was paralyzed constantly because I would listen to all this stuff that I'd be like, wow, that's so good. I'd love to write something like that. And when you're listening, it feels like it would be, oh, like that's not like terribly complex or like incredibly deep to where like I didn't even realize the meaning or whatever. And so you sit down and you're like, okay, where do I start? So I used to get a little paralyzed with that. And one way around that, I started kind of just writing like not necessarily lyrics, but just like words, thoughts, like anything that I could think of. And I had a professor one time, I did like a study abroad program in Italy, and we did jazz music and all kinds of stuff. We talked a lot about writing, songwriting, and everything. And he called those ideas and thoughts, that he would call them your germs. So he would say, write down your germs, like just keep like a note in your phone. And like anytime something, hits you, or you think of something in the middle of the car ride, or like in the middle of the night, like there's plenty of times where I wake up and I'm like, let me grab my phone, I got to write that germ down. And then those things kind of expanded into, like poetry, or just like longer pieces of, I don't know, just like things that I'm writing, even if they don't rhyme or whatever. And I've taken a lot of that and put that into lyrics for my songs. So, I mean, as far as where I start, like sometimes I'll open that book. Sometimes I pick up the guitar, sometimes I sit at the piano, and just kind of mess around until I feel like I've got something to build off of. But it just depends. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you should definitely write like a Beck Loser song with just random words called germs, just read whatever you got right there in order.
None of it makes any sense. It's like
Yeah,
the thing on like, you see it on like social media, they say like do the little predictive text and just hit the middle button over and
yeah.
over until it just like make it a song. It's
And
awesome.
you mentioned kind of like where before you got into talking about being in Italy and stuff, that sometimes you feel like maybe you don't know like what the song means. Do you ever kind of get um like bogged down on like, oh, like would like I've talked to some people before that'd be like, oh, like, you know, XYZ artists, like they would never make a song that sounds like this, or like, this wouldn't fit in this kind of mold for whatever kind of song you're trying to make. Does that ever happen with you, and you have to kind of snap out of it?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's plenty of times where I'll just put it down because I'm like, I hate this. Or like I'll sit down to write something in one kind of like umbrella of like a genre or something, and it starts going like this other route. And I'm like, gosh, this is so country. And I wanted it to be like more indie pop or or
Yeah.
whatever. And then there's times too where like I'll just try to finish, because that's just a challenge in and of itself. And funny enough, like I'll play them for my parents or whoever. Like some of the ones that I hate the most are people's favorites. So it's like, sometimes you just owe it to yourself to try to get through it. But yeah, no, all the time. I'm like, there's plenty of times where I'm like, no, this is not the direction I was trying to go in at all.
Yeah, I'm a big Kings of Leon fan, and I know that they hate that like Sex on Fire is their biggest song, but they're like, it just, it happens. It happens. So how would you describe your sound? Like if an alien came down to Earth, how would you describe your sound? There's a lot of alien references on this show.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Big believers.
Yeah,
Big
big alien people over here. Gosh, I don't know. I mean, I think like, are you meaning in terms of like tone, or are you meaning in terms of kind of like genre?
I'm an alien. How,
You're an alien. Okay,
what
gotcha.
do you sound like?
I mean, I would say honestly, like I'm, and like maybe 10 years ago, if you had told me this, I would have been like, nah. But I think now, like I'm a pop singer. Like I just am. But I can cross over, I guess, a few different genres. Like I was raised listening to country music, so I think part of me tends to have like a little bit of that storytelling vibe in some of my songs. I have been told plenty of times that I have some of that country twang in my voice. I think the structure of some country songs, like I tend to see that in my songwriting sometimes. And then I don't know, I mean, like as far as kind of tone goes, like I'm pretty basic. That sounds weird, but I'm pretty basic. I just kind of do what I can, which to me is kind of fun because I can do a lot, I guess. Like I can kind of sing over all different kinds of genres and stuff. So when I was in Italy doing the jazz thing, that was kind of one of the first times I've ever done anything with jazz. I've done stuff with country. I've done, more choir, like trained sounding, I guess, vocals before. So it can be kind of diverse, which can be kind of fun.
Hell yeah. I mean, you went from pop to country, and with the blonde sort of wavy hair, I was getting some like OAT Swift vibes. So,
oh yeah.
maybe that's your lane right there. So well, let's get into the song Spotlight, and we're mixing it up. This is something we've never done before.
Okay.
What's a song of yours that you would like to spotlight for the people listening, just to kind of talk about and maybe give a little insight to, maybe background of what the song's about?
Yeah. I'd probably say my most recent one. So it's a song called Forgotten About. I recorded it, gosh, it was either 2020 or 2021. All of those pandemic-y times like just run together. I'd have to look back.
That big 2-year.
Yeah, it's like I don't know the difference between any of the years at this point. It was kind of like more of a ballad sort of vibe. And like, I mean, I've shed some light on this already, but like normally my writing process it ranges. First of all, it can be just all over the place, but usually it's like hard for me to complete a song, like whether it means that I'm sitting there all day or if I'm like coming back to it like months and months over, or even like over the course of a couple years or whatever. I've done that too. This song, I think I sat down unintentionally, kind of just messing around, and had the completed song in like 30 minutes. It was just done. It kind of like, and people might say this sometimes, but it quite literally just like poured out of me. I think to a certain degree, like it was something that was like writing itself. And this song, lyrically speaking, it's just kind of about feeling, feeling in ways like invisible, or feeling like you're putting up a front and, in social settings, and you're kind of acting as if you're fine, but you're not, or whatever. I guess overall, it's about like kind of the battle of like depression and like social anxiety, and how you can get in this kind of cycle where you feel alone, so you want to be around people, but then when you're around people, you feel worse, so you want to be alone. And then, it's like just this over and over, like, so that's kind of the gist of it. But it was It was a really fun one to record because we got to do a little bit. We recorded it here in Atlanta at Maze Studios. And my producer, his name's Andrew Blooms, he was getting all fun with it, having all kinds of, we had a drummer come in, we had, you know, pretty much any instrument you can think of. We just were messing around with it in the studio. And our engineer, her name's Annie, she played strings on it. She did some vocals at the end. It was kind of a Billie Eilish little vocally, you know, harmony type of vibe. It was pretty cool. So yeah, it was a fun one.
Hell yeah. Well, everyone go out and listen to it. And I think that, you know, leads us straight into Mr. Quiet over here, Pete Peterson's party pack question.
Well, I figure I get the last little bit of this, so I give you your time, and now it's my time.
Yeah.
So it's
Jay,
my
it's
time.
Silent Bob here, you know.
Yeah. Silent Bob here. Before we get into Pete Peterson's party pack questions, I want to, you know, talk about your live set or live music, or, you know, where around Atlanta we can find you doing some live stuff. I know you play with our good friend Joe Staff, the band, every now and then, you know, so talk to me about your live set, live schedule, and if we've never seen you before live, what can we expect?
Yeah. You know, it's funny, like the day that COVID shut the world down, it seems like I was playing in a little coffee house, you know, set. And literally the next day, like school was closed and everything like that. So it was the very last day of freedom. I was playing something, and I recently, like last week, I think it was, maybe the week before, I did my like first live thing. I did a writer's round in Decatur. And so it was weird. I was like, oh my gosh, it's been so long. I had kind of forgotten, you know, what this feels like. So to be truthful, I don't really have anything like upcoming. I mean, I have like a couple weddings and stuff, but none of that counts. I don't have really that much stuff planned out, but like probably some more writers rounds first, and then yeah, we might get with Joe and Staff, the band, we might get some stuff going. Most of the time I do like kind of my own stripped down acoustic sets. That's most of the time what you might see me doing. I love doing a good house show. I love doing a little coffee shop, you know, writers round, stuff like that. It's just like much more intimate, much more like engaging. I feel like that's kind of where my heart is at.
Gotcha. Well, within the set list, like you know, a lot of it, you have some originals out on Spotify. You know, do you do covers? A lot of your YouTube is covers. So, you know, when I come to the coffee house, can I expect to hear some things that I've never heard before and things I've heard before, or what's the mix there?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say like probably 80% is going to be my stuff.
Okay.
You know, some of them are out, some of them are not. And yeah, I'll throw some covers in. Like I did a little house show one time that was around Christmas time. We did a little Elvis Presley Blue Christmas, which was fun. But yeah, we'll do some covers every now and then. Just kind of, I kind of decide, like, depending on, you know, where I am, what the vibe might be. If it's like a T Swift type of cover vibe, like that's one of the ones I might pull out. Just depends.
I like it.
For that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we're gonna go ahead and get to it here. Pete Peterson's party pack of questions. It's 20 questions in a row, this or that.
Okay.
And it starts right now. Cake or pie?
Cake.
Salad or soup?
Salad.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Acoustic or electric?
Acoustic.
Waffles or pancakes?
Waffles.
Chips or pretzels?
Chips.
Is love at first sight real?
No.
Is magic real?
No.
Toaster strudels or Pop-Tarts?
Oh my gosh, a toasty strudel? I haven't had those in years. Probably toaster strudel.
Okay. Sunrises or sunsets?
Sunsets. I literally was talking to my mom about this today. Weird.
Bagels or donuts?
Donuts, 100%.
She goes nuts for donuts. Night in or a night out?
They're both so great. Honestly, probably night in.
Okay. All right. If you show up to party, and I've been to a few with you, and I haven't seen you do either of these things, but are you going to do the robot or the worm?
Robot. I don't think I can do the worm.
Okay. Ranch or blue cheese?
Ranch.
Would you rather be a ninja or a pirate?
Pirate.
Scurvy. All right. Aliens, are they real?
Yeah, according to you guys. I
Yeah.
just learned this.
Bigfoot, is he or she real?
Yep. 100%.
All right. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
All right. And finally, the final question of Pete Peterson's party pack of questions. Who are some artists we might not know that we need to check out?
Ooh,
Give me
yeah.
two.
Ooh,
Two artists. Okay. Well, what if you know one of them? Do I have to give you a third?
we'll just act like we don't.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think we don't.
I think my go-tos right now, like I keep playing them all the time. Lizzie McAlpine. Do you guys actually know her or no?
I
I do
don't.
not know her.
Okay. Okay. I didn't know because she's got a pretty big following these days. Another would be Laura Elliott. They kind of run in this same little circle. And Grant, I think you'd, if you haven't checked them out, you'd like them because they kind of run in that same Annie DeRusso, Gatlin.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ah,
Some of those, you know.
Annie DeRusso, loved her when I saw her open up the
Loved
Sammy.
her. Yeah.
So, well, great. Well, I will check those out, and we'll have to try to get them on the pod if possible. But that is it for Pete Peterson's party pack of questions. Close the book on it. Tash, I'll flip it back to you for the end of this.
That's the end of the podcast. Mackalie, we appreciate you coming on, and if you play any live sets, let us know. Grant and I'll try to make it, and at the very least we'll put it out there into the atmosphere, try to get some aliens to come down and see the show. So
I would love nothing more than aliens at my show.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Love it.
Thank you so much for coming on, and
Thanks for having me, y'all.
of course,
Got it.
take care.
All right. Have a good one.
All right.